So when we take a look real quick at some of the details of these windows frames, as you saw as I was installing them, I always find it easier to put the frame together first. It allows me to build it in the workshop where I know it's pretty square and level and everything, and I can prime it before actually getting it up onto the wall. When I put it up then, I'm trying to keep about an 1/8 inch gap all the way around the window. That allows me a little bit of room to put in some of that OSI quad caulking that I've been using. What I'll do then is on the window frame, or on this trim section, I've got this lower sill. Let me zoom in on that. This lower sill is cut at a 10-degree angle. It allows water to shed off the top, and then we have kind of a drip break underneath. I've just cut a 3/8 by 3/8 kind of groove down the middle of it, and that keeps water from wicking its way back up due to capillary action. This is all cedar that I'm using. It's easy to cut, easy to use, but it's also, obviously water resistant and rot resistant. So using that, I'm priming it with one coat, then I usually put 2 coats of the finish on top of that. When I'm going to nail this thing in, I'm only really nailing it around the perimeter. On the downstairs window where it was just the 1/2 inch of the pressure treated plywood behind it, I had to use a little bit shorter nails. On this section up here on the wall though, I can use some good 2-inch, 2.5 inch long nails going up. But I'm trying to hit it on the outside of the trim so that I'm not getting in the way of the nailing flange or any of my kind of sealing area on the like closer to the actual window. So any of the nails I put in are more around the outside. At the top of the window then, I put in a drip cap. I'm cutting this so that it's got a little bit of an overhang. Well, I didn't do so great on that one, but a little bit of an overhang on the outside of it. That's just so, an additional step to help water get outside of the window opening. And then like with so many other things, I'll put the flashing tape over top of the nail holes that I've put in. But here's that 1/8 inch gap that I've been talking about. That's something I plan out as I'm measuring out my frame or trim and building it up down in the workshop. So I've still yet got a couple blocks to do where the gutter is going to install, those gutter brackets. So I've got those to install, and then I think we're pretty well ready to start doing our lap siding. Again, like I've mentioned a lot of times, there's quite a few little steps that kind of go into getting things ready, but they take a lot of time. They're not difficult, just kind of tedious. And once those things are kind of all set up, then we can actually start doing our siding. All right, so we're back at it. This is day 3 now on this lap siding. The first couple days we're putting up the lap siding against the foundation wall here. As you'd seen, it's a bit of a tedious process. We have to use the hammer drill, the rotary hammer, to go in first, peck a hole out of the concrete, so that I can then insert my tap cons and screw everything in. It went up, pretty well. Like I said, a little tedious, but I'm pleased with how it looks on the wall. It's already giving the home a little bit taller appearance. When I came up to my top lap here, one of the things I did see though is that the foundation wall ends here, and this is actually my bottom plate of the wood framing above. So these last set of screws actually were just going into that bottom plate, which is fine. But that means I can transition now to the nail gun approach, which works a little bit quicker, as you'd seen in some of the previous videos we've done. So I'm kind of excited for that. It should speed things up. I do kind of want to show some of the things we have to do with this lap siding though. This is fiber cement. So what we need to do is we're going to have to caulk all these joints. We want to leave about an 1/8 inch gap from where the lap goes into my trim. And that's why it's important to get your trim in place first. What I've got up here is I've been using these tap cons. These are they're a 3/16 by about 2 1/4, 2 1/2 screw. So it's got plenty of depth to it to get through the lap siding, along with its, the kick out and everything, and then get deep into the concrete without, being too excessive. They are flat heads though. I didn't want anything with a pan head because that would protrude too much and it might cause the next sheet to kind of lift out. What else can we speak to? We've done the trim on these. I'm pleased with how this is going to wrap up what I've done over here. With our air conditioning unit, our heat pump unit here, I did some extra bracketing here because once this is all done, I'm going to spend some time cleaning up these hoses and things, replacing the insulation on them, taking care of some of these wires to get everything a cleaner look, and then I'll go ahead and paint this power box after the fact. But I'm going to get set up here. We're going to get things going with the upper portion of this wall and hopefully make some good progress today. So as we're installing this lap siding with the nail gun, I don't want to be hitting those nails in too deep. You don't want to be puncturing the front face of this lap too deep, or blow any of the actual fiber cement up away. As I've been doing all over, I've been pre-cutting some of these tin cards. Sorry, they're not tin. They're a painted aluminum. And so I'm doing that, putting that in at any of these butt joints, and that's just an extra water protection. It allows water, if it were to penetrate the butt joint, it'll lap down and kind of flood onto the next piece of siding there. These are hot dip galvanized nails that I'm using. They're a full head nail. I'm happening to use some Paslow brand one, and that's just because those were one of the few that I could see that was a full head. You can get half or the clipped heads, but that's not really what you want, especially when you've got kind of paper facing like this. I'm not sure if that would be the same case for the engineered siding, like the LP Smart side, but at least for this Hardy board, or similar. You don't want to use a clipped head nail. What I've been doing is I've been scribing a line on here that's 1.25 inches down. The reason I do that is just to give myself a nail guide as I'm coming in and hitting each one of these studs. You don't want it too high up at the top, because what will happen is it'll kick the lap out, and then it won't be very snug down here. And you also don't want it too low, obviously, because then your next sheet won't cover it. So I do 1.25 inches here and try to get the nail head close to that, but not exceeding it. So as you see, it's a lot quicker process to put them up than with the rotary hammer and tap cons. So I'm hoping that this will go pretty quickly here. Guys, I won't lie, that was a bit of a chore today. You know, earlier on when we started this project, the weather had cooled down to a nice 70 degrees or so. I swear it had to have been up near 90 today. And then with the sun beating on the south wall and reflecting off the windows and everything, it got hot quick. Anyways, though, as you see, we got our lap siding up to the beginning of the peak. When it's up here, we're actually going to transition to a shaker style siding, and that shaker style was going to have kind of a break. It's going to be, we're going to have a cedar trim piece that's going to span this whole, kind of like a belly board, that's going to act as a top cap to my lap, and then it's going to be a starting point for the shingle style. We're going to have to put a drip cap on top of that, but I think I'm kind of beat today, and I think this is probably enough for today's video. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. Enjoyed me struggling up and down these ladders all day. And I hope you learned something. If you did, feel free to give us a thumbs up. That always helps us out a little bit. And drop your questions or comments down below. I'd love to hear back from you guys. And if you have any questions, I'll do what I can to answer them. Anyways, I appreciate you guys tagging along for this video series and for watching this content. And we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.